Hello and welcome to another night of chess and psychology. Hopefully we've been doing this for almost 2 years now, so you are all caught up with every other single video. I think we just actually broke into the 100 something video, so you have 100 videos to go watch if you're not caught up. A while back we kept doing an opening series and people really liked it, and I know Caleb did opening series and people really liked it. I wanted to do more of like a world championship series, you know, like there's at least 16 that we can talk about, excluding the women world champions. But so I did a few of those. There's Tal out there, there's a Magnus June out there, so feel free to give those series a try. But we are kind of doing something a little bit different anymore. We're gonna be doing opening series, and we're gonna be doing with a more focus on Sicilian as white. So I am going to share some of my personal favorite ways to play against Sicilian, which some might argue is not the best choice because, you know, not everybody would know what I play, but I just love you that much, so I'm giving you all my personal stuff. So I'm showing you some of the personal games that I've played, different tournaments over the years. So some of it is online, some of it is in person, some of it was rated, some of it was friendly, so it's a big mush. So for today we're going to be talking about a kind of a sideline that's kind of annoying. A lot of people know it, a lot of people play it differently, and well, that's okay. We're going to learn how to play against it. There is a different video series that we've done about Maroczy bind that you can find after. There will be a link in the description or comments, and if you want to know more about Maroczy, that's the way to go. In the next few weeks we'll be doing Najdorf, Delivers of Dragon. I have a very painful game in Dragon, Paulson Khan, and we're gonna take it from there. So but right now, let's jump to it. Let me actually close that part. So, also, this was a very... I remember that the game that I'm going to show you first was very interesting because I played this... I'll have trouble saying the last name, but the first name, Polina. She became like a really strong after we played this back. This was back in 2015. We played in Moscow Open. She, I think, is very close to becoming 2500 now, and I know she's definitely an IM, and she was playing with the Russians national team in a very recent tournament. So, but back then she was still pretty strong. She was like the newcomer, and I was already, you know, feeling like hot shot, but. Anyways, this was the game, and I remember because I had prepared so much for it, and it was still not exactly as I wanted. So, exactly. People call this different names. People call it Accelerated Dragon. It can turn into Dragon. It can turn into like Maroczy idea. It just has like, it just can turn into so many different things. And I am a big fan of taking this with the queen if my opponent gives me the chance. And we'll come back to it and we'll talk about some of the other options that are out there. What if black doesn't take it? What if white doesn't take with the queen? So for our purpose, if we don't take with the queen, if we take with the knight, there's knight c6, and we can try to turn it into Maroczy. There is a possibility, but we'll come back to that later. So queen takes d4, knight f6. This is all theory, and my opponent, so Polina, she played knight to b6 right now, which was very lovely. There's a question in the chat, what if they don't play g6? Well, g6 is what we're talking about today because it's an opening series about Sicilian. g6 is what we're starting. Next week, I think we're gonna go with Con/Paulsen, and the marks is already out there. And I think we'll wrap it up with Dragon. There'll be a Najdorf in between there too. There's a lot of fun stuff in Sicilian. Anyways, so knight b6, bishop f4 again is theory. You can start with knight c3. However, there is this uncomfortable problem, and then you would have to retract the queen, and then you would have to deal with the opponent's super active pieces. And you all know me, I hate it when my opponent has active pieces and is happy. So even if it means I have an extra pawn, that's where I draw the line. Happy opponents are not the type of opponents I want. Alright, so I went for the bishop f4. There are a lot of controversies about that. There is this d5, sorry, and take, then bishop f5, and again the pieces do become relatively annoying from black side, because black is this like e5 and it's looking super cool. So be mindful of this if you choose to play the way I did. Be mindful that bishop f4 does hold this risk. In the chat is saying that is not good for beginner, with a lot of typos. This is a very sharp line. Well, that might be true, but I don't really have a target audience. I'm not doing a class for like super beginner or super professional, so I believe anyone can learn as much as they can from it. So let me know if you like it. G6 is a hyper-exerted dragon and knight c6 is the exerted dragon. Okay, thank you for the distinction. The only difference is that g6 allows queen takes d4, knight c6 allows Rosolimo. I always read that as Rosalindo. I don't know why in my head. Not native English speaker, we come up with stuff of how things are pronounced. Some of the joys of life. Alright, anyways, let's look at this game, because we're going to look at something first, and I want to be quick about it, because I want to get to the other lines too. And thank you, Sinbad GP. Alright, bishop g7, knight f3, logical. So we talked about how, oh, goodness gracious. That's a lot of fun. We talked about how in knight b6 line, this d5 could be a little annoying, so be mindful of that. Bishop g7 was played. I went for knight c3. Polina went for d5. She could have also went for castle, and I would have gone for a long castle, and I was hoping to get into this position actually. And then I could just go boom, queen e3, hold everything together. Opponent doesn't really have an attack, but I do have a pretty chill, well, I don't want to say chill. I don't think there's anything about this attack is chilled. My rook is about to become completely open. Their rook is not. Their knight is just weird. I have much better piece activity, so I like this quite a lot. And this is actually winning now. This was what I was hoping for, but that did not happen, unfortunately. Polina went for d5, logical. There's a question, why not en passant? It's completely possible, but I thought it would give her more chances, so I decided to not go for it. And take, I will en passant now. If bishop takes c3, it is doable with the bishop f5 idea again, but I think white is still comfortable. I won't get that super cool attack that I wanted anymore, which is a little sad, but white is comfortable. Polina went for bishop f5 first. Gotta come back with the queen. I did have the choice of taking, but I wanted to avoid simplifying the position this much, and I was still hopeful for a different side castle, so I could start that attack. And that's actually what did happen in the game with queen e2, castle, castle, take, beautiful. Queen c8, and now, first question, white to move, what do you think we should do? h3 with g4 ideas. Don't forget what your opponent might want to do. Whoa, rook takes e6 with knight d5 ideas. Guys, our position is not that great to start just throwing away pieces. White is experiencing some developmental problems because I was slightly greedy and hungry and I ate a pawn. So our opponent might want to eat over here. They might want to do knight b4. They could want to do create opportunities, maybe like knight a5, knight c4. So I don't have the luxury of just doing a chill king b1 or a chill h3. Anwar, that's great advice. I hope you take it. So, what else? Wait, Sinbad. I feel like that's a Middle Eastern name, but I just always, it's not Sinbad, I always remember it as Sandbad. I don't know if that's the same, but anywho. That's Queen d2 is actually what I played in the game, but that was an inaccuracy. As white, it is so weird. You gotta play Queen b5. And I say weird because I was just like, well, what if they just take over here? I take back, they try to exchange rooks. I don't wanna deal with this. Okay, I do wanna actually deal with this, sorry. I love this. I wanna deal with this. This I want. But I didn't want to deal with double pawns. I didn't want to deal with my king side and my king getting weak, some possible attacks. So I didn't want double pawns. For the sole purpose of not wanting double pawns, I went queen d2, and opponent could have punished me. Glad that she didn't, but she could have punished me for this inaccuracy. Now, what do you think is a good move for black? Technically, this is no longer the opening, so if you feel like, well, we wanted opening series, this is the Sicilian middle game. This is how one could try to create an attack in the C file. This is a very common Sicilian ideas. Knight on c3, queen over here. So what are some of the weaknesses in white's position? The c4 square. So if black could somehow get some knights here without getting eaten.
Knight a5.
Yeah, knight a5, and it kind of hurts. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like, ouch, how do I defend this? Like, this is such a beautiful concept of just pressure. Knight a5 looks like a weird move because who puts the knight in a corner while there's still stuff to develop, right? But that knight a5, it's also funny because it's trying to trap my rook. Gladly she didn't do it, and I was very, very happy that she didn't. She went for knight b4. After knight b4, I found the best move. What do you think is the best move? Take your time. Anytime. No, this is a very hard position. I was playing this over the board, classical, and my head was about to explode. Matthias, why not knight c4? If knight c4 happened, I would pick it up with my bishop on f1. Skaki, you are right. Hold on now. What do you think white wants? Well, white wants to keep the pawn and live happily ever after. What do you think black wants? What is the purpose of this knight b4? Knight b4, if not the immediate knight attack on queen. Well, we did the knight before. Ah, there you go. Yes, pressure on c2. That's what they want. They want my pawn. Sneaky. So I have to play knight d4 to defend it. So after knight d4, opponent played knight c4, and I started to feel that the pressure was lifting a little, because now after knight c4, I can't easily take. They take, and this is totally cool. They helped me develop my bishop and get rid of it. And I don't feel as pressured anymore. I can play a3, I can take over here. I have better options now. So what do you think right now would be more annoying for white? How do you think black would try to make me uncomfortable? Thank you very much. How can black make me uncomfortable? Mr. Z, I have no clue. I think black could try to go for something like maybe rook e8, then I would have to move this bishop. Like, the thing is, okay, what I'm looking at is if black did this, they would kind of win this one tempo, right? Because they got rid of the bishop anyways. But this rook e8 is like they squeezed in a little like tiny move in there anyways. So I think that would be a better choice for them. Alright, so knight c4, take, and I decided to just take this because this bishop over here was just bothering me and I didn't want to deal with it, and I was also kind of uncertain of how I would continue over this. This just felt very uncomfortable, and I didn't want to get myself into any more uncomfortable situations, so I avoided it. And so I took over here, they took, and I went for a very simple move of bishop h6. My idea is simple. If you want to be cute about it, I will take it, and now I want to give you beautiful checkmates. If you take, I'll just come up, try to trap the knight, and I'm doing checkmate ideas. Right? So, now, opponent has to be very careful because I have some serious stuff going on. What do you think black should do right now? You know what I want to do as white. So how do you think black should try to mess with that? And don't forget some ideas about checks, takes, moves with threats. I started giving this, I thought of this idea late last week, and I started telling my students, and I have about 40 students. So I haven't had any complaints so far, so I'm going to tell this idea to you too. Feel free to leave comments and share your opinion. I literally spent less than a week since I started giving out this idea. For some players who they keep repeating the same mistakes. They might forget about diagonal checks. They might forget about forks. They might not consider what the opponent wants to do. Gosh darn it, I have this problem that I just keep doing and doing and doing. My recommendation was, well, why don't you leave a post-it whenever you're doing puzzles? Leave a post-it on your laptop and just have that as a small, okay, what am I supposed to think? I also made the offer for when you're playing online, but I also realized that might have unethical aspects. So don't get too excited with this post-it idea. But for improvement purposes, if you're playing an unrated game, friendly game, and you want to improve and modify how you think. Having like a piece of paper that you have your problems on, and you have to kind of go over, like, scan for checks, scan for takes, what does my opponent want, some of these ideas. Again, this is like a very new idea that I've had, so if you have any questions, any thoughts on it, please do let me know in the comments. I will come check afterwards. Yeah, so that being said, right now, what do you think my opponent could do that would mess with my plan? F4, technically, yeah, technically it does mess with it, but I will still have a pretty cool attack. Even though, I mean, also I have an extra pawn, so I don't have any problem with trying to exchange queens off and pick up even more material. Now I'll be very happy with that too. So not F4. What about checks? I don't think I saw this check idea anywhere in the chat. So I see all of you might have trouble with thinking about checks. So that goes in your upcoming post-its. All right, so knight takes a2. I gotta take, they take. And now, I really wish I could do this queen g5, but it doesn't work because they just take, and I would have to move, and then this is a defender, and my rook is stuck. This doesn't work. I wish it did. So I can't just go play queen g5 whenever I want. I kind of have a single move not to get a worse position. What do you think this single move is? So white to move, what do you think we should do? We're very close to wrapping up this game, so we can look at a different line within this opening. Well, to be fair, let me maybe start with this. If it's black to move, what does black want? Let's start with that. Okay, I see the c3 idea being mentioned a lot in the chat. All right, so I'm assuming you are seeing that black wants queen a1 checkmate. So let's do c3. Yeah, I'll save it. I agree. Polina took. I took. She went for f6. Now, what do you think white should do in this position? Never play f6. That's funny. Don't forget, now opponents might want to do check and pick this up. And this rook here is just... eek. So, if rook e7, check. King up, boom, bye. If king d2, check over here. I don't want to give that opportunity to my opponent. King c2, they can still give me check. And they can give me check. And they can give me even more check. King c2, not a bad idea, but they have opportunities, and they can also grab this file. So I went for rook d1. She went rook e8. And I played queen h5 that I'm fine with, but not like super proud of. I feel like queen f4 might have been more in line with my current chess philosophy. Anyways, queen h5, they gave check, I went up, and they gave me a few checks. And I was trying to hide the king. My idea was if they give check again, maybe I could try to cover up. They didn't. Polina just went for queen g4, and we traded, and then we got into this super awesome endgame. So exciting. Can't wait to have another beautiful endgame like this. And as you can imagine, it's yeah, it's kind of dead. Yeah. It's just a very uncomfortable non-creative endgame. You just save your pawns, you just try to avoid getting checkmated, and you agree to a draw. So the game that I played ended in a draw, but it had lots of ups and downs. And alright, I'm gonna go back to the opening part of it, and we're gonna talk about a whole different, okay, maybe not a whole different, but a different line. what I want to talk about was here. Knight b6 we talked about, right? Knight b6 is actually a very great idea, but there are other lines. One of them notably being this e6. e6 is, how do I say it nicely? Just weird. Just purely weird. As black, be aware of the beauties that you're gifting to your opponents. You shouldn't. You should not make your opponent feel that cool about their position. Like, you shouldn't have g6 and e6 and have the d6 and f6 square just up in the air. So, having said that, there are positions in which that is acceptable. This is not one of it. So, if you were to play e6, there are chances of me playing c4, and if knight b4, then I can try to chase that away, literally, because now if I take, you can take here. But then I can also play knight c3, just completely ignoring this knight, and I just want to bring my knight. This is already like +3 for white, so yeah. But that's not what I did. And also, if I played c4, I think opponents would have went back instead of knight b4, but hey, you never know. So c4 is actually what I would recommend. I went for a3 because I just wanted to see what they would do. I wanted to just wait. I wanted to do a simple move before I decide what to develop, where to go, what to push, what not to push. You know, all that chaotic stuff. Opponent on bishop g7. Alright, now push. And I just decided to try to go for development. They're also trying to develop and protect this square, so I can't easily access their d6. Knight c3. And I developed. And alright, I continued with my plan to do short castle. I did have some hopes for maybe someday I could try to create an attack, but my biggest hope was these two squares, so just keep that in mind. They castled, I castled. I was playing a tournament in Switzerland called Martigny Open back in 2015. If I'm not wrong, I actually won like the best woman prize for that, and I was in top 10, and I really liked it. So if anybody from Switzerland or Martigny here, I liked Switzerland. Anyways, so this was a tournament there, and for the life of me, I can't remember the round of it. I know it was a morning because I was very sleepy. I'm not the best morning person. Anyways, c3 idea, knight d2, c4. That's also possible. That's also a possibility that I see in the chat. Now, let's say opponents went for f5. How do we like that? Is that going like a ha or a ouch? Because if they can actually cover up, they're doing fine. So is that a genius or a blunder? And there's a question about what elos are these lectures aimed at. I try to not go for like a super beginner or super hard thing. So as long as you are fine with the coordinates, you should be able to learn something from it. Some people enjoy the specific opening. Some people prefer to focus on the middle game. So it's completely up to you what you get out of it. I don't really have a specific aim at it. I would say, actually, I'm not gonna. The same way I didn't say it in my book, what's the elo aimed at? I'm not gonna do it here. Oh, speaking of my book, let me actually show you the mug. I like this mug. It's a very beautiful mug, right? I wish my cat was on it though. Anyways, that's discussion for a different time. It is a blunder, yes, thank you. Thank you, chat people. It is a blunder, en passant. And I wish I had my evil laughter button right now. That would be cool. But yeah, with not just en passant, but discovery attack too. Yes, exactly. They take back. I just picked that up, and I remember opponent's face going, what? And they just played another move, and then they resigned. I decided to just take that too for the fun of it. I mean, I was gonna lose the bishop anyways. Might as well grab a pawn. Yeah. And then he just resigned. So, What I was hoping to show you with this e6 line was a very simple don't do it, or if your opponent does it, be happy, smile, because they're giving you permanent outposts. All right, now let's switch the gears and talk about a different line, knight c7. I have a few games in knight c7, so let's try to see how much we can get to. Before we get too deep in knight c7, I just want to briefly mention this knight b4 idea because it's such an old line, and I remember when I first learned this, they were telling me be careful. There's this line that's now if it's like if you play it wrong and you play like knight c3, this is losing. Now I want to ask your opinion. Why do you think white is losing now? What were the first few moves? e4, c5, knight f3, g6, d4, take, queen takes, knight f6, e5, knight c6, queen a4, knight d5, queen e4, now knight b4. Exactly. Chat got it? Let me see. Anybody in person wanna give it a try?
Yeah, d5.
Yep. Beautiful. d5. The problem is d5. Even if you do the beautiful en passant, oops. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, for that reason, opponent wants to play d5. How do we stop it? How do we interfere with that? Bishop c4, not exactly an interference per se. They would still play d5. You do en passant, they'll still play bishop f5. I'm enjoying this. c5, whew. g4 is tricky. Jesus, how did we land on g4? I was thinking a3 would be in suggestions, but I guess not. Knight a3, okay, I can see how that might be appealing. Ah, there we go. Thank you, Elijah. Oh, yes, bishop b5. Beautiful. Now, if d5, what do we do? Take who? Take who?
I said check. Okay.
We like pins because of the pressure and the mental pressure.
Right.
This is a beautiful pin. How do we use it? Come on, you got this. You're good to look for checks, but if not checks, exactly. Yes?
Queen takes b4.
I'm not gonna stand in the way of my queen's happiness. Yes. Beautiful knights. So bishop b5 is like kind of a trap, like, hey, you want to play d5? Yes. And then you get the knight. I like traps. Anyways, queen a5 should be played, and there's knight c3, and then there's d5, and then take, and then goes there, and then you come up here. It's a mess. But the point being, you get the rook. Well, technically so do they. But this is actually winning for white. Okay, maybe not winning. Advantageous for white. I have to be very careful with my word choice. So the point of it being, if you do play third move, queen takes d4. This is the only line that you need to have memorized, literally memorized. There's like understanding to it too, but the memorization part of it is very important, because you might know that, yeah, here my opponent wants to play d5 and bishop f5, but if you don't remember bishop b5, then, well, you're not gonna be very happy. Let me put it that way. So you gotta remember a little. You gotta remember. But to be fair, not many people actually play this as black. So they used to back in like 10 years ago. But anyways. Jacob and Sebastian, yes. But it's very important to just be aware of this opening. And the only line that you need to memorize, if you do decide to play this queen takes d4, you gotta have this move sequence memorized. I would be very happy if you also understand it, but even if you don't understand it, you gotta have it memorized. Like, this is, you got to have this memorized. I can emphasize more on it if you want, but anyways. Okay, bishop f4, bishop out, and this is the game that I played with Polina. We talked about e6, and we talked about knight b4. Now, let's go and talk about knight c7 for a little bit. All right, so knight c7, what do you think we should do? Are we worried about anything specific? Thank you, Fat Dad. Yes, I do. So, bishop e3, possible, but opponent doesn't really have any like super threats going on. Yeah, so black might want to do knight e6, that's true. What else? Do you think your bishop belongs on e3? Do you think your knight belongs on c3? Where do you think your pieces belong? I am a big fan of this knight c3. Let's say opponent goes bishop g7. What would we do? Oh, is h4 an idea here? Kinda. Possibly. I have other things that I would like to be able to do before I would attend to h4. Maybe let's try to figure out which side are we trying to castle. Okay, I'm getting more bishop f4s. That's what I went for too. I went for bishop f4 as well. The other possibility would be bishop c4. And if like b5, then you have bishop d3. And I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I played it. It was a little uncomfortable. Okay, I won the game. What to do? I'm kidding. I did win the game though. Because there is a small, beautiful tactic here. Well, actually, I think bishop e4 is better. But anyways, just to mention, bishop c4 is doable. But we don't necessarily want to mix and match too much. So bishop f4, I'm a bigger fan of bishop f4. If opponent goes b6, we have long castle. We'll come back to it in a second. If opponent goes knight e6, we could just castle, or we could just, you know, move the bishop away. If, let's say, not bishop f4, wait, sorry, not knight e6. What if d5? Is that doable now, or is that just a beautiful, beautiful blunder? I think that there are both kingside castle and queenside castle is doable. So I think it's ultimately up to you to make that decision. Was taking e5 a threat? Not just yet, but I don't want to deal with it, so I'm fine bishop f4. And bishop f4, exactly, prevents d5. You just pick up a pawn, right? All right, perfect. So bishop f4, and my opponent went for b6. Okay, as we just mentioned, there are other options like knight e6 or bishop or pawn. Okay, I guess pawn d5 is not exactly an option. They can do it. I would like it, but I'm not too hopeful. So that if they play b6, we can castle, and now this can become slightly uncomfortable. So I just went for what I thought was logical with queen e1, and this was a tournament, if I'm not mistaken. It's been, oh my god, 8 years. I played this game 8 years ago. This was a game that I played in the first time I played World Junior Championship. I was 15, so back in 2013, and lovely. All right, so okay, getting nostalgic. What if knight e6? What do you do? They want to eat your bishop. Well, they would like to exchange the bishop. So, yeah, let's bring it. Let's try to exchange it our way, rather than knight takes bishop, queen takes bishop, and this other bishop still stays on the board. So, take, and now opponent actually went for queen b8. I was a little skeptical on this, and I chose to play queen e3, which I kind of regret. Kind of, not too much. But what do you think is a good idea for white now? I had trouble coming up with what to do right now, because I knew that my position was better, because opponent's king is uncastled, I have better space, you know, more open files, better development. But the how to make it work, how to convert that advantage was really hard for me. So, converting advantage, that's a very, very important thing. I've been thinking for a while to do a lecture about it, but I'm kind of doing series right now, and I was doing series before that. But anyways, that idea of converting advantage. Growing up, I had trouble looking for it and understanding it as well. So, if you have any resources on converting advantage, please leave it in the comments and help others too. All right. Oh, something about bishop g, something about knight g4, bishop g4, bishop c4. Good God. Take control of the d5 square since it's okay. That's possible. Knight d5. I guess possible. Well, the thing is, this guy is under attack, so opponent might want to take it. So I think the reason I came back with my queen was that. Hi, thank you, Fatah. That Deb 22, queen e3 is the best. I know, right? I played such amazing engine moves when I was 15. Okay, kidding. I mean, here and there. But I was considering maybe bishop b5 might have been more interesting, because if a6, then I could just get rid of that knight and then do knight d5. But at the same time, I don't think I would be more comfortable with this, because who is going to kick this knight away? And yes, technically I am attacking that, but I also helped opponents get rid of some of those uncomfortable pieces that they had. So, yeah, it's a possibility, but definitely a possibility. But I don't think it might have been the trickiest way to play it. So, queen b8, I went for queen e3, which according to engine is the best one, of course, why not? And so opponents went for queen c8. That was a wrong move. Queen c8, too chill. Now I made a mistake. I should have actually started to push over here. I didn't. I was young and naive and I didn't push enough. Anyways, I was actually young and naive and didn't push enough. That's not untrue. Alright, after queen c8, I went bishop c4. I just wanted to develop, and bishop c4 looked like a good development move, but it wasn't the move that my position needed. My bishop went c4, I was never truly going to, you know, gain anything out of it, so why did I put my bishop on c4? Just because it looks good, it's not reason enough. It doesn't really have a purpose. However, if I started pushing this pawn now, I would have a purpose. I could start opening up some weaknesses on opponent's king, open up some files on opponent's king, actually start to make them more uncomfortable. If they play h5, okay, now I could go bishop b5. I could start to bring pressure. But I didn't. And oh, an interesting idea that's is mentioned in the chat, that black could want to do long castle. Totally, yeah, possible. So I went for bishop c4, they went knight a4, and then I gotta move the bishop again. And then they proposed the bishop exchange, and then I had to try to defend the bishop. And they did the bishop exchange, and then they changed the knights. And you see, within a matter of few moves, the position just changed so much. And now opponent's pieces have more flexibility, more possible threats. And okay, I defended, and they're trying to attack again. They just started gaining tempo after tempo, and I did not like that. Again, proposing to exchange queens. And it's uncomfortable because opponent's king is in the middle of the board. They shouldn't be doing this, right? But they did. And this game ended up... It's still comfortable for me, but it's not that big of a deal anymore. And we tried to repeat a little, and then we tried to give it another look, and I was still fine. There was no sacrifice, unfortunately. It wouldn't have worked. And so I started to want to push more. I tried. I still have advantage. I feel like if I was playing this now, when I'm more experienced and I've dealt with more like tiny better positions, but still uncomfortable, I would have been able to win it. But in that game, she was like 200 points more, and I ended up just being like, yeah, let's just accept draw. And I regret it. Not too much, because I did my best. But anyways, yeah, like I had advantage. Like here, I should have possibly taken this, and then tried to enjoy the open files. Anyways, that's a whole different endgame topic, but something that would have been possible. But we repeated. We agreed to a draw. All right. I would like to actually mention something else, different line, if you're up for it. So, wait. Here, we talked about knight away, knight away, knight over here, and e6, right? So, I'm gonna switch gears, go back, and talk about knight takes d4, because some people do play knight takes d4. So for knight takes d4, the most thing that I've encountered is either knight c6 or bishop g7. If bishop g7, I'm kind of fond of c4 to just try to transpose it to Maroczy, which there should be a link there soon, sometime, soon future. Because we did a Maroczy bind last year, and so c4 would be interesting, and then you're gonna do the Maroczy style stuff, short castle, throw a rook in c1, and we'll do that. We'll talk about that very briefly later, and please do watch the video for that. That's like 2 hours of video. All right, so there's knight c6, which you can still technically go for c4, and I think you should still be fine with. During that knight c6 idea, I actually went for bishop e3 in one of my games, knight f6, then I went for knight c3, and then I was like, uh-oh, this just turned into some weird, uncomfortable dragon that I don't play. I got tricked into it. Again, this is like years ago. I was young and naive and all those stuff, but I got tricked into a line that I didn't want to get tricked to. I didn't want to go for dragon, but I ended up in a dragon without d6, so my opponents can just do d5. Yeah, was uncomfortable. I tried to like avoid d5, but this knight on b3 with short castle is just like, if my pawn was on c4, now we're talking. This would be my rook c. I would like that, but it doesn't really work. Yeah, I tried my best. Okay, I retract my comments. I tried the best I could. This is not my best. What is this h3? What was I thinking? Anyways, what was I thinking? Oh, I don't want to look at this game anymore. Don't do this. Don't make all these beautiful weaknesses for your squares. Ooh, I need to go back in time and have a talk with my 8 years back self. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, okay. If not knight b3, there was another option, obviously, of simple castle. And then if queen a5, you still have knight b3. Of course, there's nothing fundamentally wrong about playing this opening, but if you do play it, make sure you're comfortable with your opponent not playing d6, because the whole idea about go back, this g6 is to be a little tricky about, if the knight takes, then haha, I didn't have to play d6 to get you into dragon. So just be aware of what you're getting yourself into. All right, so there's that. The other thing, take was, oh, okay, one final line that I wanted to talk about was this bishop g7. Now, it's possible, Elijah, that I tried to be like cool with my pawns and transposition, and it didn't work. Thank you, Great Wolf. Thank you for the kind words. All right, so bishop g7, you can definitely go for c4. And if knight c6, again, if take, you got my rook c. Check out the video for that. If not take, if you do knight c6, now you can take, check, bishop d2. Take, knight c3. The idea is, I want to simply enjoy my beautiful pawn structure. And if you try to mess with it, you might want to do this. I'll just play h3. Castle, bishop out. I can just go rook c1. I can also go like knight d5. And this is like, again, like this Maroczy bind structure-ish with a weird queen out here. So I'm not complaining. I can maybe do a small queen hunt. Anyways, that's another thing that I wanted to mention about how to try to get another Maroczy bind idea. And finally, wait a second, need to scroll down. Ah, yes. What if you decide to take? I personally choose c4 because I have a better experience in Maroczy. Watch my video for that. But what if you choose to take? That is, again, totally doable. You just have to know the theory behind it, because your opponent could give you a check, and after this check, knight c3 is interesting, c3 is doable, but c3 they can take, and then you gotta do like some weird knight a3, bishop d3. It gets too chill. What I played and I kind of liked was this knight c3. If you do knight f6, I can play e5. If you play queen takes c5, I can play knight d5. Knight f6, where there's a beautiful queen trap coming up. If queen c6, there's bishop b5, right? If queen d6, beautiful bishop f4. Where can the queen go? This is actually kind of cool. My opponent's just like, this was actually a real game that I played with a lower rated, but still, it was kind of fun. Then they resigned after this. Obviously, I mean, there's a missing queen there that can't be found. Anywho, let's go back. So the queen c5 is relatively uncomfortable because of knight d5, and then opponents would have to go like knight e6, knight a6, or e6, or queen a5. Or there was I think there were like a 1600 FIDE rated at that point. I have no idea what their rating is now, but this is like some of the ideas are either knight a6 or e6 or queen a5 to try to avoid this upcoming b4 idea. So as long as black does those, they're not completely busted. So if you're watching this and you're like, okay, queen c5, I love it, be mindful that there is knight d5, beautiful, b4 idea, beautiful, but your opponent can, you know, just move it away. Now, are you better? Yeah, you have better development, you didn't even lose anything, so enjoy that. And in the game that I had that I still wish I won, that's one of those small games that still hurts here and there. I was playing in World Junior Championship the second time I played, so in 2015. I was 17 at that point. I was playing in Khanty-Mansisk. I played so beautifully. I was very close to scoring a medal, and I didn't. It hurts still. But this game, it ended in a draw. I knew I had advantage, only with half a point difference. I would have, because I ended in 6th place, so it would have been much, I was so close to that beautiful World Championship Junior medal. Okay, not the gold, but I did beat the girl who got gold. Anyways, so I was playing with a girl from Armenia. I remember her as Susanna. Trouble with last names, but I think this one is Gaboyan. I still see her on Instagram here and there. She seems to be happy. Anyways, she played this knight f6. I went for e5. She tried to continue with the knight. I tried to be as aggressive as possible. It was like an aggressive game, like boom, and then another, like, felt like a small boxing match at this point. I feel like b5 would have been funny, but I didn't. Actually, b5 would have been smart, not funny. If you won knight c6, you're not getting knight c6 today. I think it would have actually been genius. Anyways, I went for queen e4, they went knight c6, bishop f4, d6, bishop f5, and we just kind of, it somehow was fine. I don't understand how this was, I mean, I understand how this was fine, but like I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, how is this position fine for black? Black is totally fine. I tried to create some ideas and it kind of worked, but not really, and then it was such a big mess. And anyways, the game ended in a draw after like 30 something moves from here. But I did want to mention this knight f6 opening as well. So a small recap. Today we looked at this idea, d4, take, we take with queen. If not take, what we just talked about, you have two different options, take or c4. You have other options too, such as knight c3, but just be mindful of that accelerated dragon stuff or hyper accelerated dragon stuff. There is going to be a Maroxy link that we did from last year in the chat. Well, description. Thank you. And I did have some questions from you that you're more than welcome to answer in comments. I will do my best to check it out here and there. And if you have any particularly cool game of this line that you played, make sure to join us in Twitch this week or next week, pretty much all Wednesdays, right after this class. We have a small switch to Twitch. We're going to analyze your games. So, yeah, with that, I'm actually going to say, please buy my book and let me know how you like it. I have to do it. And with that, I will see you shortly on Twitch. Good day.